For the founding queen, sharing her nest with all these rivals seems like madness. But the economics of desert survival is a numbers game. And for the moment at least, this communal life is the key to her future. Each queen now lays her first batch of tiny eggs, each no bigger than a pinhead. Many new nests contain 2 or 3 queens, limiting the initial brood to less than 100 eggs. But these 10 queens have produced well over 300 eggs. And when they hatch, the colony will become an instant superpower. For the founding queen, this is the main advantage to taking in lodgers. If the eggs are not kept clean and coated with antibiotic saliva, they would quickly be smothered by fungi and rot away. The eggs soon hatch. Fed by the queens, the voracious larvae grow quickly and then pupate. A few weeks after the eggs were laid, the first tiny pale workers emerge from these silky cocoons. All ant workers are female and sterile. Unable to reproduce themselves, their sole purpose in life is to serve the queens. They darken as their bodies become harder, and then they are ready to take up their duties. Some stay underground, tending to the queens and to the remaining brood. Others head for the surface for a first look at their strange new world.
In the royal chamber, the queen has yet to restart her normal duties. Before her journey, she stopped egg production in order to slim down and make traveling easier. Now, like a virgin queen, she produces a special scent that attracts winged male ants who fly in from other nests. The male is also enormous, on a similar scale to the queen. The scents she produces are irresistible. Just a few molecules will grab a male's attention. He searches for a way into the nest. But a guard patrol has found him, and at first the other ants see him as food. He's actually in mortal danger. The army smothers him as if he were prey, but their intentions falter. He also produces scents to demonstrate his fitness to be consort. If he passes muster, he'll be accepted. If he doesn't, he'll be for the chop. They try to clip his wings so he'll fit through the nest entrance, but he cooperates. Using spikes at the end of his abdomen, he pulls one off himself. Nothing is wasted. Even a wing has some nutritional value. The rest of the workers take him into the nest. He has their support, at least for the time being. He's on probation. Until he actually mates with the queen, he could still be attacked. Another wing is removed. He'll soon be presentable for his audience with the queen. It's day 5 in the new territory. There's no nuptial flight. Instead, the Queen's new consort is guided directly to the royal chamber. He's not the first consort to the Queen, and he probably won't be the last. Driver ant queens are, for ants, unusually promiscuous. He'll be one of many suitors she'll entertain during her lifetime. His job done, he retires from the royal chamber and dies. A short but productive life, for he'll father several million new ants with hungry mouths. Slugs are fair game for driver ants. They don't run away. The first ant makes contact. And then another. Others come running. The slug tries to sit out the attack. There are so many ants. The victim uses the only escape route left to it. The ants fall too. They often use this unconventional way to get down from the trees. But the unfortunate slug has fallen from the frying pan into the fire. An awful lot of ants are milling about down here. They smother their prey. But the slug has a trick up its sleeve. It may be slow, but it's well protected. Its entire body is covered in a thick and noxious slime. It's so glutinous that once their jaws are in, they can't get them out. Other ants seem to give a helping hand. But this one is firmly stuck. Try as she might, she just can't get away. For some, it's not just their jaws that are trapped. She's almost free. Then something remarkable happens. Some of the workers begin to bring particles of soil and place them on the slug. In this way, the slime is soaked up, like ink on blotting paper. Gradually, the slug disappears under a writhing mass of earth and ants. With its protective coat neutralized, the ants attack the slug underneath. Slowly, the victim is sliced up.
By pooling their resources, the Queens have survived their first major challenge. But this coalition can't last. Tensions are already on the rise as the Queens jostle for position within the royal court. The weaker crouch submissively before the more dominant, including the founding queen. So begins the delicate maneuvering that will soon take on a deadly significance. Those at the bottom of the hierarchy have little chance of surviving the coming trials. Another struggle for control is also beginning above ground. The corral nest is not the only one in Horseshoe Canyon. The desert floor is littered with similar-sized colonies, and there's not enough room for all of them. Now the darker side of the honey ants emerges. It's time for the corral colony to mount a preemptive strike on its nearest neighbors. This killing spree continues through the summer until the corral colony has eliminated all the other new nests in their immediate neighborhood. The foundations of the empire have been laid. Underground, too, events have taken a darker turn. One of the queens lies dead in the royal chamber. It's not clear why, but the workers have started singling out the weaker queens for special attention. At first, it's all very subtle. One isn't fed so often or cleaned as diligently. But then, the workers start bullying and harassing their chosen victim. Finally, it spills over into direct attack, and the workers tear the chosen queen to pieces. Nothing can go to waste, even a royal carcass. Workers carry hungry larvae over to feast on the dead queen, including many that must have been her own offspring. As the weeks pass, the revolution continues. Only the most dominant royals seem immune to attack. They just watch and wait as the workers go about their gruesome business. By late summer, the corral tanks contain the only standing water for kilometers around. The canyon's more mobile insects are drawn to this one last oasis. For those able to travel, this water is a lifesaver. Bees and wasps can carry the water back to their distant nests. But this tiny pool of water lies just beyond the boundary of the corral colony's territory. With no end in sight, such desperate times call for desperate measures. As the search widens, a small group of corral workers head towards the trough. This is unfamiliar ground for them, and they are heading toward disaster. Near the trough, they stumble across other honey ants, and then a nest entrance. It's only 40 meters from the corral colony, But that's been enough to keep these two nests in mutual ignorance for all these years. These new honey ants are unlike any the corral workers have encountered before. They are big and aggressive. Instead of backing down, they meet the challenge head-on, and the encounter begins to escalate. For the first time in its history, the corral colony may have met its match. Sensing the worst, the corral workers begin to fall back towards their own nest. The trough workers go on the offensive. The retreat quickly turns into a rout. Stragglers are picked off. The fight is carried right to the entrance of the corral colony. Even here on their own doorstep, they can't hold their ground. The attacking trough workers drive on into the nest. As news of the attack reaches the corral queen, she withdraws to the deepest chambers, her entourage of nurses in tow, carrying the valuable brood. The battle spreads down into the tunnels. Slowly, inexorably, it spreads down through the shafts towards the deeper part of the nest. The repletes are slaughtered, or dragged away to be eaten later. Some dead workers are carried off for processing. The invaders take everything from eggs to newborns. Many are eaten where they fall. They empty chamber after chamber. Finally, the invaders overcome the last resistance and break through into the royal bunker. The corral queen and her broods are trapped and completely helpless. Held by each leg, the queen is on the rack, first stretched, then dismembered. It is a gruesome and ignominious end for this once great ruler. In just a few hours, the corral colony has been annihilated. The nest emptied. too late for the Corral colony. The drought finally breaks. A great storm heralded the start of the Corral Queen's story. And now, 8 years later, another marks its brutal end. But somewhere, out in the desert, the Queen's royal daughters are fighting their own battles, continuing her dynasty.